Okay, this is section 1.1 in the calculus book, and this exercise here, 37, is the one I'm going to do. So this is just a picture of the book. The directions are to find the domain and sketch the graph of the function. So the first thing you have to worry about is the domain, but the only issues that we have at this point for domain are if the denominator is 0, or any denominator is 0, or if any square roots are negative. But you don't see any square roots here. So the only issue is when is that denominator x, when is that 0, and that's true when x is 0. So let me go ahead and write the function again here. This is big G of x equals 3x plus absolute value x over x. So the domain is just x not equal to 0. If you want that in interval notation, then you can write minus infinity to 0 union 0 to infinity. So those open brackets mean you never include the infinities, and because you don't include 0 on both sides, you're skipping 0. So either of those answers is fine. Okay, so now we want to sketch the graph of the function. But I chose this problem because this function is one that we don't really recognize. It looks weird, but when we think about what's going on, we realize it's not that strange. So, first thing you need to think about is just what is absolute value x. This is actually a piecewise function. If you take the absolute value of a positive number, you get the same positive number again. So it's x if x is greater than or equal to 0, because also the absolute value of 0, you get the same thing. But if you take a number less than 0, then you get the negative of that number. If you think the absolute value of minus 5, well, it's 5, and what you did is you multiplied by negative 1. And you know the graph of absolute value x is just a v. Let's try that again. So that is why that graph looks that way. It's the line y equals x on the right side, and it's the line y equals minus x on the left side. Now, if you go back to our function we're worried about at the moment, and you think about absolute value x still applies the same way in this situation. It's just part of a bigger piece, but this still is now going to be a piecewise function, depending on if x is greater than or equal to 0, then that means the absolute value that you see is just x, and if x is less than 0, then that's minus x. And so, if you look at it this way, because you have x in the denominator and you have x as a factor in every spot in the numerator, you can cancel them. And so that gives you just 1 here. So this ends up being 3 plus 1 divided by 1, which is 4, and 3 minus 1 divided by 1 is 2. So this g of x is actually just a piecewise function,